kicking this session off today, and we are going to review what happened today with Tesla and with SpaceX. SpaceX, of course, a new debutant in the market. Very interesting to watch this. But let's start with Tesla. We saw a giant slide, or not a giant slide, but a pretty bad slide. And that, of course, coincided right here. When you look at this, coincided right here with the Fed speech. It was all about the Fed today. The Fed, of course, Walsh, the new Fed chairman, today, the first time he spoke in front of the world and announced nothing. So that was interesting. Very expected, of course, that he announces nothing. The market wanted to sell off, tried to sell off, wanted to panic, but it didn't really have a reason to panic. So when we look at the whole thing on CNBC, maybe you watched it, that was the defining thing for today. The market watching Fed Chairman Kevin Warsh, not Walsh, Warsh, and he basically said, I can't tell you anything. I'm going to be very cautious. I'm not making any statements. We are not going to say if he cut rates. We are not going to say if he hike rates. He made little tiny hints. You know the whole game with the Fed. Everyone wants them to give them hints. Then they give hints for hints, and this time they gave hints for hints for hints, and then the market says, oh God, I think I got the hint to sell off, let's sell off. And I got a little light on the position before the speech, just in case. And then, you saw what happened. Here you see the markets reacting to this. Tesla completely moving in line with the NASDAQ. When you look at the NASDAQ chart, exactly the same thing. Here is the Fed speech. Here we actually got the announcement, the written announcement out from the Fed meeting saying nothing. Then the Fed 30 minutes later started the press conference. I also tuned in, listened in a little bit. Warsh makes a very good impression, by the way, a much better impression than Powell. I was not a fan of Powell. I thought he was a bookkeeper and he was very uncompelling and he scared me a little bit. He came across as someone who doesn't have it really under control. Warsh, much better than expected, in my opinion. He makes a very solid impression, very relatable impression, very intelligent impression. So I liked him. And, market went up while he was speaking. And then here he didn't really say anything specific, but people just picked something and wanted to get scared. I think we are not too concerned about this. When you look at the market behavior, selling off, not too hard selling off and then bouncing back in the end, we were all the way down to nearly 1.6% down and ended up with 1.34%, volume going up nicely in the end. So I think it was much ado about nothing. This was the defining thing today for Tesla. We will talk about SpaceX in a second. So not many news, but of course, from a Tesla perspective, another frustrating day. What the hell is even happening? We're hanging out here. Nothing happens. Any sell-off of the market, Tesla sells off more. Or not more, actually. We are below the beta. But still, no reason to celebrate. Another depressing day. Nothing happens. While at the same time, a lot of things happen in the real world, as you probably all follow on X. We see these Robotaxis being churned out again and again, this time over 100 Robotaxis or cybercabs actually spotted today in Austin, Texas, in the Gigafactory. So what the hell is going on? We are seeing all these amazing things rolling off the manufacturing band, and the market is just completely ignoring it. I will comment on it in a second, but first let's look at another great post here by from Berlin. Welcome back, Joe. And he did this great drone footage. I think Sawyer Merritt counted over 100 cybercabs in the parking lot today. I know everyone is annoyed and bored. Like, yeah, we know where is the money, but we have to look at these things, how these things progress, and how we churn out these things by the hundreds. In my estimate, we have strongly over 1,000 cybercabs at this point deployed. Over 1,000 cybercabs are deployed in multiple cities across the nation Don't forget, Waymo only has 3,000 things out. And we will probably hit 3,000 in latest 5 weeks. Because we are over 1,000. They're churning them out by the hundreds now. Look at this. And so there is no doubt something very big is going on. I will discuss in a millisecond what that means for the stock, because we need to dig in and be a little prepared for more waiting while we are also preparing for the big move up, which is the trick here. So you see all these cyber caps all over the place. And I think Sawyer Merritt or Joe even said they saw some that are not fazads. So fazads are cyber caps with steering wheels. And they spotted some without a steering wheel now. Very interesting. And we also had a very good write-up by Genma JP about this whole theory, what's going on. So Genma JP was talking about we still lack strong public evidence of cyber caps running FSD under supervision, even for testing. But we also have now clear evidence of production spec cyber caps without steering controls and wearing Robotaxi logos accumulating at Giga Texas, as per Joe Techmeyer. These are the units most likely destined for the first commercial deployments. Maybe Genma is right. So this is all going on, but at the same time, there is no limit to our frustration, of course, on the stock. I hear you guys. I hear the frustration. I have it myself. And here we see another post, by the way, very interesting by Sawyer Merritt, that quotes Ash Alpha saying that the Texas DOT, Department of Transport Executive Director Mark Williams, experienced the production version of Tesla Cybercab firsthand earlier today at the 2026 Texas Innovation Invitation at Cybercab FSD. And what was very interesting is here we have a quote. Do we have a quote? We have a quote for Mark Williams himself. He's the executive director of the Texas Department of Transportation, so not a beginner and not an unimportant person. And now, where did he say that? Here. He said, concepts are rapidly becoming reality today at the Texas Innovation Invitational hosted by Texas Department of Transportation. I had the opportunity to experience a production version of the Tesla Cybercab. Tesla is now operating robotaxis using Model Ys around Austin, Dallas, and Houston in full self-driving mode. The introduction of the Cybercab will dramatically scale these operations over the coming months. Isn't that interesting? So here the boss himself, the government official in charge of transportation for Texas, says the introduction of the Cybercab will dramatically scale these operations over the coming months. Dramatically. Now, do we think he's just talking random stuff? Probably not. Because if there's one person outside Tesla who has to be absolutely informed about these things, who demands being informed, it is Mark Williams. So when he says the introduction of the Cybercab will dramatically scale these operations over the coming months, it is extremely unlikely that he just made this up and makes a casual comment. It is much more likely that Mark Williams has extensive conversations with the Tesla team, or to be more specific, the Tesla team has a lot of conversations with Mark Williams because he is the boss. Don't forget, he's in charge. And when he says that, very likely they have discussed that with them because they need approval or at least buy-in from the government, from the Department of Transportation for this. Department of Transportation, of course, oversees all these agencies that oversee the autonomous operations in Texas. So I do think, I hope I don't overinterpret these things, but given that this is the boss of the DOT and he says these things, I think there's a very high likelihood that Texas and the that Tesla and the Department of Transportation of Texas, including Mark Williams, have had these discussions, and Tesla has given them a heads up and say, we are going to scale this dramatically over the coming months. Okay, isn't that interesting? So that is what I'm thinking. But at the same time, the frustration knows no end. So what am I going to do about the stock? What am I going to do? I made some aggressive trades beginning of June because I got a little greedy. Here comes a lesson in greed. So beginning of June, or even a little bit before at 435, I made pretty aggressive trades where I went very short puts, and that was very bad. That was very bad on paper, and partially also realized losses here because I was too early and I was too aggressive. And I think the learning from that is it is better if you apply a churn strategy. My churn strategy is so great. It normally works so great because I'm selling at the money and slightly out of the money puts, weekly puts. And if you do that, for example, today I shifted a lot of the puts just in time. So I'm selling $400 5 trading days expiration. So next week, Wednesday and Thursday. I'm selling these puts at 400. I'm getting $10 for it. That was before it dropped. It was at 402 when I sold it. That thing dropped way too much for my taste. But I'm still pretty fine because I'm basically making money all the way down to 390 until next week. And by doing that, here comes the lesson. Here comes the lesson. If Tesla goes down against me, moves against me, I'm not losing money all the way down to 390. If Tesla moves sideways, I am making massive alpha because Tesla does nothing and I make massive, massive returns. If Tesla goes up, I'm fine with that trade all the way to 410 when you do the math, right? Or to 412 to be more specific. So up to 412, I have alpha over owning Tesla stock. Only if Tesla goes above 412 do I lose alpha on that trade, right? I make money, but I make less money than I would have made with the stock. Now, when you put that on a timeline and repeat this week after week after week, some weeks you lose, some weeks you win, but in nearly most of the weeks you're winning, and over time that adds up a lot. Just to give you an example, let's say to the upside, if Tesla makes an aggressive move to 430 and I'm losing out because I'm only making $10, within 3 weeks, I made my $30, right? All I need is 2 more weeks where I also make my bucks to catch up to 430, if that makes sense. So given the fact that we learn now the hard way that most of the time a stock doesn't do much, it goes a little down, it goes a little up, or with Tesla, it keeps sliding a little bit down and it's annoying, and then it makes a strong move. The churn strategy, the weekly churn strategy helps if you manage it well and keep it out of the money and stuff like that, gives you a nice buffer and constantly makes money and alpha. So we need to get back to basics and avoid being too greedy. And I think it was a little bit of a mistake of mine to be too greedy, to be too convinced that June is the inflection point. We need to be probabilistic. June can be an inflection point. June can deploy the cyber caps. But what if not? What if this drags out another 3 months like this? So I think it is better to go back to basics, do the churn strategy, the disciplined, conservative churn strategy, constantly make nice churn, but at the same time, understand that the probability layers are stacked above each other at this point. It becomes exponentially more likely that we see something big happening. It can happen in June. I still think it will, but we can't just totally bet on it. So I think I'm switching a little bit to a more conservative churn strategy, at the money, out of the money, not going too crazy, right? While I'm watching out for every single little sign that something happens. And if something happens, we have to switch the strategy and get really greedy very quickly. So there you have it. Now, let's conclude this with a quick look at SpaceX, because I actually put on a trade for SpaceX that a lot of you might not like if you're fanboys and girls, because I went short SpaceX. Let me explain. As you know, I think SpaceX is tactically overvalued. It's fundamentally undervalued, but no one even understands that. So I think it's tactically vastly overvalued. It has to go back. Very likely it will drop below IPO price of 135 this year. That is my prediction. At least it will drop a lot from here. And what I did is I went short naked calls. 1 month expiration, because that's all we have right now. No other calls available. 250. I sold them at 199 today when I saw, okay, this thing is going down finally. That breaks the little thing, and I'm selling 250 because I did the math. To go to 250, a lot of things, like this is crazy. Even with more selling pressure coming. It's a very small conservative trade. It just makes me, how much does it make me? Like 1% or something. 1% on the portfolio. A little less actually. So it's just a little test balloon. I'm still cautious. We're still in crazy markets. Who knows if this squeezes or something. But you have to also understand, you don't have an easy squeeze to 3.5 trillion or whatever. So I am getting into position. I think we are totally overvalued. It's nice to sell calls on this naked calls. Be cautious. And I'm holding back with stronger positions. I want to see first the selling pressure ceasing because the inclusions in indices will happen. And so we need to be a little cautious until probably another 3 or 4 weeks. And then there will be a lot of selling pressure incoming when all these people get unblocked, when they get unlocked starting mid of August. And then good luck, SpaceX shareholders. This baby will drop. And I will write it down a little bit. I'm very greedy for SpaceX. I want to maximize my SpaceX shares, even though I don't have any right now, because I think this is just the biggest thing ever. But I do think there will be a valley of tears coming end of the year. And that is when I bite into the cake and accumulate my strategic position. Because end of 2027 and then starting 2028, I think this thing goes to the moon. So that is how I think about it. Let's go to the comments and see what you guys think. You can go maybe here while we speak. Or maybe, is that the guy? Is that the boss? Mark Williams. Let's go to Mark Williams. Zoom in on Mark Williams. Here, how he smiles at us. And hopefully makes sure that all these cyber caps get online. Okay, what do we have here? The comments of the pioneers. Richie Cash says, too early to short SpaceX, momentum moving higher as 10-year bond rate drops next week. Well, I agree it's too early. That's why I'm cautious, but I have a 250 call. So even if this squeezes another 20% higher, I don't even care. Poxy Frostbite. That's a beautiful name. I love it. Poxy Frostbite. First time live. Welcome to the live show. Everyone's nervous, but opportunities for the unleveraged with cash. Yeah, when things are bad, unleveraged with cash is good. When things are good, not so much. Andrea Auer. Hi, Joe. Nice to see you live again. Good to see you, Andrea. Droid. Hello, greetings to everyone. Greetings back. Poxy Frostbite says the DOT certification is great. Still, the stock goes down. That's an easy win as a new investor. Yes. When do we moon? As I said, we have to be patient. And when it happens, we have to act fast. SpaceX end of year target price. Hapavu. I think I'm winging this a little bit, but I'm pretty sure we will see something much lower than now. And I also think we will see under IPO price, under 135. Will this be end of year or will it be October, September, November? I can't tell. I have to wait. Aaron says cybercap revenue is small and will grow painfully slow. I don't agree. I think cybercap revenue will scale extremely rapidly once we hit the inflection point. Until the inflection point, it will be a complete pain. Yes, painfully slow. And I don't think, by the way, we have a model out probably next week. Yeah, we will have a model out next week on all kinds of aspects of Cybercab and Robotaxi. I don't think there will be sales of Cybercab anytime soon because it doesn't make any sense. We've waited this long. A few weeks, months, doesn't matter. Love your work, Joe. Thanks, Jamo. I agree. We get a little greedy. We want to see results, but does it really matter if you wait another month? No. What I think Google wants with paying SpaceX AI for Colossus 1 is because they have used Waymo to collect data. Now they need a supercomputer to try to catch up with FSD. Andreas Peterson, I'm not sure because Google has so much compute. They just want more compute. They need more compute for everything, including Gemini. Paddy Irishman, let's go, Joe. Yes, we go. Milton says, Tesla have done nothing but move sideways for the last 5 years. I know, very frustrating. But I do think this is coming to a hit. Mumblewick, I don't know. Street Cred Zero, I have my theory on all of this. Hedge fund guys are watching Joe's channel and deliberately trolling us all for fun and profit. That is for sure true. I know some hedge fund guys who watch us. So this all spreads very fast, even if not everyone watches me all the time. They watch Herbert, then Herbert watches me. It's all connected. Tesla 500 end of year. I think it will be a little higher than that. I have a little bit of an allergy. Oh, there's pollen in the air. Ooh. All of this price action looks macro to me. Totally. Epoxy frostbite is completely right. This was all totally macro driven. Private credit is saturated. Isn't this a normal seasonal market drop? It's not a seasonal market drop. It's just the market climbs a wall of worry. The Iran thing is over, as I said a long time ago. It's all playing out as expected. I didn't even comment on Iran too much. I think there is a wall of worry that we are going to climb. I don't think it's a seasonal market drop. I think the seasonal market drop awaits us in September, October, November. I think that could get a little nasty, much more nasty than now. Hopefully my 175 put prints tomorrow for SpaceX. Oh, you bought a put? That's a little gambling. I wouldn't do that. I like my short options. So if I'm bearish, I'm selling calls. If I'm bullish, I'm selling puts. Because think about it. If you buy a put, and people shouldn't be, I mean, be cautious, but you shouldn't be too concerned about the naked situation, naked shorts. Like, who cares? People say, oh, unlimited loss. If SpaceX goes to 10,000 on Friday, I'm broke. It's like, yeah, that's true, but I can still sell it. So if you buy 175 puts, it's gambling because you need the stock to actually drop that much. If you would sell, for example, a call, let's say you sell 190 call, that's a little bit risky, but if you sell 190 call, you get a lot of premium and you just keep it as long as this stuff doesn't go up too much. Epoxy frostbite says, aren't those shorts going to be thin since that's the expected direction? The calls are shockingly juicy. That's why I did it. I got $7 for a 1 month 250 call. That's crazy. That's a lot of money. $7 for 250. 40 is the name, 420 is the name. Pre-market is 193, but pre-market doesn't matter. There's a huge wall at 200. It's not going to touch it for a while. I also sold a tiny little amount of contracts for expiration tomorrow at 200. SpaceX. That's totally gambling, but I think I get the money. It doesn't even matter. Like, it's not so little. I just do it for fun. Tesla will continue circling the toilet bowl. These pumps will keep you engaged before acting surprised. I don't think so. I warn everyone this can go sideways longer. We have to be prepared for more pain. That's why my thumbnail says, wait, is there more pain ahead? We just have to be cautious. Hapavuo, yes, I'm a MicroStrategy. I actually went more into MicroStrategy today. I sold some, I shifted NVIDIA into MicroStrategy. I think MicroStrategy is totally undervalued. Look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin is up. MicroStrategy is down. Like, what's even happening? Something is off here. And MicroStrategy is a pretty strong company, by the way. If you look at the fundamentals, what is going to happen to MicroStrategy? They don't have a vulnerability other than Bitcoin going down, but Bitcoin is going up right now. So I think MicroStrategy is a buy. August $70 price target. I don't understand that. Richie Cash, too early to short SpaceX. We had that already. Can Elon controls the algorithm of which algorithm? Of X. That's true. 420 is the name. Says 10 years from now, space. If you invested 1,000 in SpaceX, 2026, you will now have 3 million. 3,000x? Oh, I don't think so. I'm very bullish on space, but we are not going to make 3,000x in 10 years. Not in 10 years. Richie Cash, nice plan, Joe, but I'm doing both. Making money on way up and will be ready for the big drop in 2027. Sure. For 250 call, why so out of the money? Because I want to be a little cautious. We still have for SpaceX potentially irrational behavior ahead when all these rebalancing and funds come in. So why not? And it's my first tippy toe into the water. Don't want to lose too much money here. So going short, naked, 250 call, gave you $7. That's a lot of money. $7 is a lot of money for that much out of the money just for a month. Last week, $490. Tesla this week, naked short calls on SpaceX. Anything to keep you distracted. Tesla end of the year target price. Well, I said if they deploy the cybercaps and they scale to 15,000, I think we will see 800 to 1,000 for Tesla. It is really absolutely dependent if they get this stuff out. But think about it. They're producing them by the hundreds now every week. So I do think they will. I'm sticking to my plan. Or not plan. I'm sticking to my prediction. Brian, hi. Joe, any updated thoughts on when the market starts seeing the Robotaxi world as significantly delayed? At what point could the stock really sell off? I think there is no such point. I think we are now in June getting into the territory where the market loses patience and the market says what the hell is happening and losing hope and getting annoyed. But that is not a crazy sell-off because we see that Tesla is actually scaling up everything. So it's not a total failure. And I think the result of that, as long as Tesla keeps churning out cybercaps and does all these little pieces of progress while nothing really happens, I think the risk is the stock deflating despite making progress in theory. And so we will see constant selling pressure. We say like, oh, we are at 390, we are at 400, market goes up, we get 410. We go back to 390, we go back to 380. That is the risk. I think we are getting now into that phase where the market says, what the hell is even happening? Why is this not coming? They're losing a little patience. But we shouldn't overreact because it is very clear on the ground for anyone who knows anything that we are making very good progress. So I think right now we are in a little bit of a valley of tears for Tesla because of SpaceX, because Tesla is not anymore the hottest game in town, the Elon Musk play. Now we have SpaceX, stealing the spotlight. And I think people will get frustrated with SpaceX very soon. And then we might, pivot back to Tesla a little bit. But I think we are in a new age. I think the shiny, glossy shine on all the Musk stocks is wearing off, to be totally frank. But I think it's just in time when they can actually start to deliver. And they need to deliver. Otherwise, it's getting nasty. But when you look at on the ground, we are delivering. So this is the interesting new situation. The time for hype is over now, especially after SpaceX. The time for hype is over. The time to show result is now. We are showing some indirect results with Cybercap ramping, but we need to see something happening. Otherwise, we have to we have to buckle up that the stock will be under pressure. That is the situation now. Cybercap breakout coming. Yeah, so I mean, this is the real deal, right? We are like in the finals now. We can lose and then lose a lot of money on the stock, or we can win and make a lot of money. And this is exactly what's happening now. Street Cred Zero says, I'm out of all my short-term options. I took profits on the SpaceX. My wife spanked me for buying. Now the wife and I are off to Vegas to play the less sketchy casinos. Yes, Vegas, at least you know what you get with the casinos. They are less risky than Wall Street. Joe, how low do you see Tesla going over the next few days? I mean, it really depends on the market, I think. I mean, Tesla is clearly weak right now, but I don't think we will drop much more. The market, this is all a function of the market. I think if the market stabilizes, and I don't think that was not serious today, in my opinion. It was like an attempt to sell off, failed kind of. I don't think the market is under too much pressure. You never know, but today didn't look to me like a crazy sell-off. So, and we just had a sell-off and we just had a recovery. I think we will climb a wall of worries for June, maybe July. And I think Tesla will remain weak until we see some movement. But I do think, as I explained yesterday, we have a local probability maximum coming end of June, where something could happen. Blaze Hudson asks, why didn't you get rid of your short puts at 400, move to 390 at the end of the trading today? Because I'm not that conservative yet. So let's see how this goes. If it falls more, yes, I have to do that. But good question. It's being deployed Monday. Elon likes to do cool things like making Cybertruck bulletproof. How cool would it be to unleash these on the world all at once? Yeah, I think we should be prepared that something could happen. So the risk is not always to the downside. Don't forget that. The risk is also to the upside. If you're confident of the short-term catalyst, why don't you go all call options? No, I would never do that. I hate call options, and I'm not confident on the short-term catalyst. I'm not confident enough for call options. Call options are deadly, because if you go sideways on call options, you're getting absolutely, totally murdered. So I'd rather go short puts. I think call options are only for extreme situations where you have high confidence and a very narrow window. Because if you think you buy call options, let's say 420 or even 400 call options, or 450, whatever you want to do, 3 to 6 months out, and you think you're safe, you're absolutely not safe. Because what happens if nothing happens for 2 months? You're so dead. I can't even put it. You lose 80% of your money because of time decay. So call options are a very bad idea long, unless we are in a total run up. But we need to be in the run up, not before. Bond selling off hard caused the heavily leveraged hedge funds to have to sell stock when interest rates rose on their borrowing costs. That wasn't. Did they sell off today during the speech? I have to look at that up. Is there any value in buying new offerings from Alphabet, Anthropic, Meta? I think they all have captured audiences. Isn't there room for everyone that will benefit directly from orbital compute? I don't like them too much, especially Anthropic. Like I'm getting very skeptical on Anthropic, to be honest. Meta is a little bit in the toilet, and Alphabet is doing fine, but it's all priced in. So I don't think any of them offers like specifically strong upside. John Paul Speed Skater says, if we get nasty in September, just imagine what happens to this bag when it slowly bleeds to 350 by then. True. That's why they better deploy some Robotaxis. My broker told me your account is bugged. Sell it all. I don't know what that means. Richie Cash says, Joe, are you tracking the terrestrial data center SpaceX is building in Tennessee? Listening to Elon, I think we can expect another 1 gigawatt or 2 gigawatt coming. I have to look into that. I don't know what the latest. I am pretty sure one SpaceX catalyst, but the problem is the stock is too high. When you run any numbers, maybe that's a hype news and it drives the stock up. But when you look at the numbers, you can't get there. But I'm pretty sure this year we will see more announcements like Colossus 3 or something. Thoughts on Claude AI new update being banned by the US? This is all. I am not impressed by Claude, by Fable, and all that stuff. I tried it. It's like I don't even know what people are talking about. But I'm not a coder, so maybe it's only for coding. And this is a long story. I will do a video on this topic. I will just not get a lot of clicks because people are not that interested in AI videos. Or maybe I just weave it into the next live show. It's very interesting what's going on with these models. And I do think that there will be an increasing push to not release very advanced models, which is interesting what happens then. I got a small position in MicroStrategy 5X bull today. Oh, is there 5X? Wow. Been holding MicroStrategy for a month now. For a month, it was probably bad. 420 is the name. Wow, we have so many comments today. 420 is the name. After a couple, SpaceX now accepting Doge for Starlink. Oh, that's interesting. Andreas says, what would be cool, Joe? You could see if you could make a stream with Rob Maurer. Yeah, Rob is cool. We should have more of these combined streams. That's true. Maybe Peggy, the Peggy who came back from the dead. We had a little chat today on X. Richie Cash says, Elon told us the Cybercab rollout will be painfully slow. It now feels painfully this month. So I'm bullish we get big announcements in July regarding Cybercab business unleashed into the wild. Who knows? Who knows? We could get it this month. I mean, I'm still believe that June is more likely than July. But let's see. Joe, just watching World Cup, I see no Cybercabs on the pitch. You are wrong. I know. No Cybercabs. And Genma JP had a good point. Like, what are these Cybercabs with the steering wheel actually doing? I'm wondering about these things because if you have all these Cybercabs with the steering wheel, why are they sitting in parking lots? They could just test drive them around if they need to do that. I don't understand exactly what's going on there. Will Q2 be big? Well, Q2 is half gone, so no. Oh, Q2 results. I think Q2 results will be pretty good, yes. Don't expect the stock to move up on hopes and delays. Yeah, it moves up on Cybercab. Jordan says, how far would SpaceX have to drop before you would consider buying versus Tesla stock? So this is a very good question. I do not have, by the way, for SpaceX, I do not have a firm buying price target, but SpaceX has to be treated as a momentum and technical trade. I want SpaceX. I'm very bullish on SpaceX. I actually think it's fundamentally undervalued right now, but I have extremely high conviction this little animal will drop dead in the second half of this year. And so I don't have a specific price. It's more on a timeline. I know when all these unlocks come, when all the sellers are allowed to sell, and that will be very big because it will be up to 20% of all the stocks can be sold, and only 5% are the float right now. So you have 5% of all the outstanding stock of the 13 billion stock in the market, but there will be 20%, 1.6 billion shares being thrown into the market from sellers once this unlocks starting in August. So there will be massive selling pressure. So I do think by end of the year, we will have completed the selling pressure on this stock. So the likelihood that SpaceX sees its low this year between August and December is very high. And so the odds that you should buy SpaceX before December, before it hits like the normal equilibrium, is high. So I do think it drops below 135. I do think it will do so before December. Of course, if we merge with Tesla, everything is like confused and complicated. But then I don't care. I have the Tesla shares. And yeah, that's how it's going to go. Do you think SpaceX can be shorted if you buy today and sell in the next couple of weeks? If you buy today and sell, well, this is too much gambling for me, even though I believe there will be more buying pressure on SpaceX. So the direction will be more towards the upside from here. It is so overbought that I don't know if that can just drive it over 200 again. I would definitely not bet against it going to 210 or 220, but I'm also not betting on it. So I think the safer bet on SpaceX, getting IPO shares was a good strategy, but I stayed out of it because I knew I'm not going to get too many, so it's not worth the effort. Now it's clearly short-term overvalued. So yeah, you can ride the rocket up a little bit more. If you buy it now, the odds that you make money are probably much better than you lose money short term. But then you're doing this timing, you have to get out in time and stuff like that. So I don't do that. I'm also considering the SpaceX ETF 2x short. Well, the problem with these things is that these are made for day traders. So if you have a strategic thesis that SpaceX goes down and you buy this 2x ETF short, and SpaceX goes up and then down and up again and then down a lot, this is not going to be good for you because you're losing money on this thing. I did a video on this, on all these 2x and multi-x. ETFs, they are made for, so you can be in a situation that you're buying this thing, let's say the bull thing, 2x bull, and then the stock goes up and down and up and down and up and down, and then up, goes 10% up, you can be 5% down because of the math. So it is not something that promises you if Tesla goes up 10% that you're going up 20, or SpaceX goes down 10% you're going up 20. It depends on what time frame. That's only guaranteed same day. So you have to be cautious of the math of these ETFs. Nothing to say just now. It is down and you buy. And it's up, hold, that is with both. Poxy Frostbite says, I've done the numbers on dollars to percent ownership for Tesla and SpaceX, but Tesla has so much more now utility, it will still worth it to get a little less stock overall in the short term. Yes. My opinion is Tesla will have more short-term real growth until at least after the unlocks. Yes. I hope so. I hope they get these stupid cyber caps out. Volatility drag is terrible. Yes, it's death. What about Leaps December 2028? Deep in the money. You mean for Tesla? Synthetic long with Leap. Well, I'm a little irritated by the merger discussions and the options and what they will do with the options. But I do think long-term strategic now is a very good time to position yourself in Tesla. Definitely think that. So, it's already late. I have so much allergies. I don't know what's going on here. What is going on here in the markets? Tesla, horrible. Not much going on after hours. Fed, nothing going on CNBC. Fed wash surge in bond yields. We can check that out. Maybe what are the bond yields doing? 10-year. Let's show the chart. So 1 day. Yeah. So it went from 443 to peak 450 basically. Yeah, that's pretty extreme as a move. Bond yields going up, which is like weird. The bonds going up. Stocks going down, yeah. This is all speculation because he didn't say anything specific. They're just making it up, these people. He explicitly said that he's not going to say anything. You know, 2-year yield rockets high as many Fed officials signal possible hike this year. Well, but that was 10, 12 hours ago. So I think this is highly this is stupid. This is just speculation. Maybe you can look at the 5 key big takeaways from Warsh. No rate changes, but the hawks are circling. There were no apparent dissents to keep the federal fund rates targeted between 3.5% and 3.75%. However, the dot plot of expectations further out showed an inclination towards a hike later this year. I mean, why would we hike, right? There will be an unemployment problem. There will be an unemployment problem. So you can't hike. Of course, if you only look at inflation, maybe, but now oil is coming down. Whatever. I doubt there will be a hike, but let's see. I think there will be employment pressure, and so no hike. The dot mystery solved. There was rampant speculation heading into the meeting that Warsh wouldn't be submitting a dot, and he confirmed that he did not. In the past, the chairman has expressed a disdain for such forward guidance as hamstringing future policy. Okay. Regime change via task force. Warsh has been promising to shake things up at the Fed, and his first steps in doing so came through the announced formation of 5 task forces. They are charged with studying communication, blah, 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 blah. Okay, great. Congratulations. For tough on inflation, on about a dozen occasions, Warsh used the term price stability. That's what I noticed too. That scared the people. That is basically why we are selling off a little bit. But this is such a weak signal. He basically repeated price stability, so people are concerned that he's an inflation hawk, which means maybe he's going to hike, even though he's not saying it. So for a chairman who had opined often about cutting rates, it was surprisingly hawkish talk about his and the committee's unambiguous and unanimous resolve to get inflation under control. Okay. Markets responded in kind with a policy-sensitive 2-year Treasury yield soaring by 14.4 basis points. Brevity is the soul of wit and monetary policy. Warsh also promised to revamp communications, and the first visible step was a dramatically abridged post-meeting statement. That's why I liked him. There was no nonsense anymore. Prior to the new chairman's arrival, the statements generally ran in excess of 300 words, generally consisting of boilerplate language that investors pass through. This time, the statement just ran 130 words, short and sweet with little ambiguity. In short, this is all nonsense. Nothing was said. There you have it. That was the big market mover today. Kelly Quist. Hi, I'm late. Hi, Kelly. Still welcome. Saul says Elon is definitely timing the market to let the cyber caps run riot and announce the merger. I don't know what the strategy would be there. Hapavu says, do you really think Tesla SpaceX merger could happen? Yes, for sure. SpaceX is considered a defense company, meaning that it cannot have non-US citizens as employees. Also, other legal challenges. That's a good point. I don't know exactly how to handle that. I'm sure they have a plan. Still waiting for the Tesla breakout. And by the way, if you have a conglomerate, it's not true. You can have different divisions, and some have national security things and others don't. Look at Boeing and stuff like that. They have a defense division, and then they have like a civilian division. What do you think about the global economy in general? Macro, stagflation, 18-year cycle says we are due for a very large drop in the coming year or so. You can't time it that precisely. I think we are definitely in a new time. There's a lot of Fed activity and money printing and M2. So we have endless amounts of manipulation possibility. I think on a super macro level, it is very clear that AI will be disruptive in 2027, 28. It will be horrible for a lot of people. They will lose their jobs. There will be all kinds of problems. The government needs to print money, so there will be money expansion, there will be inflation, and we also need inflation because of the debt. We need to inflate away the debt. That is the secret, the dirty secret. The government wants inflation, probably 3 to 4%. And the theory is they want 3 to 4% and tell everyone they want 2%. So they're constantly trying to get to 2% while they are basically doing 3 to 4%. And that solves the debt problem. You can basically inflate away 20% of the debt in 10 years or whatever. So it's very clear inflation is here to stay because it's a strategic policy tool. Inflation, the true target inflation is 3 to 4%. The official target inflation is 2%, and that's the game everyone is playing. But that's good for assets. Asset prices have to go up. Because people just finding out Elon company had helped shoot 2,000 missiles in Iran. Elon company? I don't think so. Does anyone mess with 2 times Tesla ETF? No, I don't like these ETFs. I did like a deep dive on them because for mathematic reasons, they're not that effective. Are you still being bullish on Trump as you were 6 months ago? Well, obviously less. I think Iran was a huge mess, but Trump still delivered in the end. He showed that he can pull out, that he still has what it takes to tackle, and lots of presidents would have gone down the escalation ladder and done stupid stuff. I think the fact that we started the stupid Iran war is not very specific to Trump. I think most presidents would have done it, even though it's a mistake. But Trump is the one who was able to pull us out. I don't want to sound too much like a fanboy. He did many things, stupid things. I don't understand fully why he did that. But in the end, he is the one who can pull us out of these things. Alexander Pedersen. Also, what will happen if SpaceX tanks and then the merger happens for Tesla? That's not a problem. They can make an offer for whatever, 2 trillion, and then it doesn't matter where SpaceX is at the merger, they just have to pay for it. They can merge with a larger entity. How do you feel the impact of SpaceX Tesla being classified as dual-use companies? It seems with the sponsorship of the president, this becomes a great limit moving forward. Well, again, I think you can designate different divisions of a company differently. I'm pretty sure. Starshield is already operational. That is true. What happened to April, May? We were all amped up, ramping Robotaxi. Well, yeah, RW Hirsch, you're right. I'm also feeling, a little frustrated, obviously, because I thought April, May is the inflection point. We now have a lot of cybercaps out of the wild, but how long are they going to drag this out? I don't know. My theory is they can't drag it out for much longer. That is my theory, but who knows? Is SpaceX 100% margin because it's new? When would it possibly go down to 30 or 50% margin requirements? Oh, I don't know, because it's so crazy volatile for now. Will take a few months. Joe, could you please explain what it would mean if Elon would create a parent company X above SpaceX and Tesla and the rest of his companies? I have to think about this. I think they won't do that. I think SpaceX is going to buy Tesla. They're going to rename their whole operation to X Corporation. And that's it. And they might have then a division of SpaceX AI. They will have XAI, SpaceX, Tesla under the X Corporation, probably. This wasn't Trump's war. He ended a 47-year-long conflict. Yeah, we can see it like that. I think now the sentiment is shifting. Everyone wanted Trump to end this thing. Now he ended it, and it wasn't easy. And now I see a lot of people coming around, actually, even on the left. Just purchase some more Tesla, too bullish to not grab more at these prices. I believe so too. Like if you need Tesla to go up in the next few months, you might get very frustrated. But if you're strategic, I think we are very close to the inflection point. This is a good point to buy. Grok was used to shoot 2,000 missiles. What is that? I don't even know about that. As Dave Lee suggested in about 2020, and Elon agreed to be a good idea. What do you mean, droid? Love the insight. Thanks for answering all the questions. Enjoyed the show. It was a pleasure for the win. Okay, now I have to hang up and sleep a little bit. But thanks so much for tuning in. We had fun as always, even though it was a not great day for Tesla and the market. But as I said, I don't think we have to be too concerned about anything here. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, and we continue tomorrow. I have like a political video, an update on Germany in the works. I hope I can get it out tomorrow or Friday. Let's see. Take care.